right, so this is what you're going to have the mini quiz on. And it's a little sparse what's listed on your trachea lab list. There's not a whole lot to it there. I'm just going to leave it as it is. There are other tissue types in the trachea. Like areolar tissue wasn't listed, right? Was it? And they didn't mention anything about that outer adventitia. I don't think. So we just have those three. So even though that's not totally complete, we'll just stick to that because that's what it says on the left sheet. Okay, so I'm at the scanning lens. We've got our trachea. Let's go away with that. Let's take a look here. All right, so first thing to notice is there are some abnormally large veins in that submucosal layer within the areolar tissue. That's not normal. So it's really odd trying to kind of block those out. Okay, so we do see that hyaline cartilage pretty prominent. It's in the trachea. It's kind of a U shape. You can feel it here at the front of your neck. The name of that cartilage is what? What do we call that? The tracheal cartilage. That's the name of it. That's the structure. Okay, what kind of tissue is it? That's hyaline cartilage. Okay, so let's zoom in on that just so we get a reminder. We haven't seen hyaline cartilage in a while. We'll talk about it more and what its job is later when we cover respiratory system on Monday. Yeah, nice little chondrocytes we see there, a little lacunae. Should definitely be able to recognize that. Okay. There's a lot going on. If you went outside of this, you saw a lot of other stuff. There's a nice little lymphoid nodule and a blood vessel, adipose tissue. Okay. No, there's more adipose. All right, so if we go in, here we see some kind of a little more adipose than we normally would. We've got our areolar tissue. Okay, those aren't either on your list. And we've got our weird veins, abnormal. But inside here, we want to notice the epithelium. So let's zoom in on that. Oh, yeah, I guess we better talk about functions, right? Because that's on the quiz. Okay. Okay, so here's your epithelium. And what kind is that? Yes. Ciliated columnar epithelium. Good. Hopefully you can see those cilia. Some goblet cells. Okay, here it is from here to there. Here's the cilia. This is the inside of the trachea or the lumen. Okay, what's the function of that tissue in the trachea? What do you think? Got cilia. What do they do?
Move things.
True. Let's be a little more specific. But I like that she shouted it out. Move the mucus? Yeah. Sweep the mucus towards the throat. Traps pathogens in mucus. Sweeps dust particles, pathogens that are trapped in the mucus. Does sweeping, does something called a mucus escalator, and it sweeps it all towards your throat where you swallow it. Yum yum. Okay, so that is the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium right there. And actually, let's go back to the cartilage because I forgot that we're doing that mini quiz coming up real soon. Okay, so here's our hyaline cartilage. So what does anybody think a function of it? Here it is here, you can feel it. It doesn't reduce friction. What else could it do? What? Structure?
Structural support.
Structural support? Yeah. Keeps your trachea open. Okay, so it provides structural support to keep your trachea open. Now, if we just put structural support, and we're not really referencing the trachea, so I'll probably have credit. Okay, it provides structural support to keep your trachea open. Trachea is open all the time. It's definitely the more important one if you compare the importance of the trachea versus esophagus, right? We can go for days and days without eating, but we can't go very long without breathing. Okay, so the trachea is kept open all the time, and that is due to these tracheal cartilages, which are made of hyaline cartilage. Okay, so the hyaline cartilage job keeps that trachea open all the time for airflow. And am I forgetting something else? Oh, yes, of course. Okay, so if we go now towards the posterior part of the trachea. Go back to scanning. Oh, this one looks like it's all the way around it. Those are just collagen fibers that look a lot like smooth muscle. That's what that is. Okay. So the collagen fibers look a lot like smooth muscle in this Okay, so here's your smooth muscle. The structure is called the trachealis muscle. That's his name. Kind of tissue, smooth muscle. Okay, so you see where you are. Here's the epithelium. It's just starting to fall off a little. Okay, that makes sense as you guys know where you're at. Okay, and so what does this do? Why is there a little pocket of smooth muscle back there in the very posterior of the trachea? This smooth muscle, it contracts or relaxes, and it alters the size of the trachea. Okay, so it will either open up the trachea for more airflow, or it will relax, and that makes the trachea smaller. Wait, let's not use the words contract and relax right now, because it's not, actually doesn't make intuitive sense. So the trachealis muscle allows the size of the trachea to change, the diameter of the trachea to change to accommodate airflow. Okay, so either more or less airflow. We'll get more specific than that later, but that's totally fine for your main quiz. Okay, so that's one function. Okay, trachealis muscle, it'll contract, relax, and that affects the size of the trachea, and that affects airflow, more or less air. The trachealis muscle also allows, in this one, do we have the esophagus? No. In one of the slides, someone showed me the esophagus was right here. It was kind of cool, actually, because you can see part of the esophagus just pushed right up against it. And so when you have a big bolus of food and you swallow it, that esophagus expands out round, and then it can push forward into the space. Right? There's not a lot of room in there. Right? It's all smashed up against, you saw how smashed the esophagus was, right? It's just right up against it. So the esophagus can open up. So that trachealis muscle allows for stretching. It allows